All right, the conversation continues right now. We're with Rich Grisham, who's kind enough to hang around with us with some extra innings out of the park development road to release. Now we get to talk a little bit more. Rich, I I guess I want to start probably with the drive for the pennant mode because that's the one that really my ears perked up when we were talking about it. Do you, feel free, tell me no, comment, whatever. But I've got to ask you when I was visualizing what you were talking about and how it's kind of like, as you said, on the rails. Is it going to be something where it is a specific team that the game will tell you, okay, you're going to be running this particular team, or is it where you pick your own team and then the rails will be leading from that station, not the station that out of the park chooses?
That's a great question. And, we had a lot of discussions about this, you know, all during the time frame when it's been worked on, and it's still being worked on right now too. So it's not, and I haven't even like literally I haven't touched it. So it's not like I've been, playing it. So the answer to your question is the plan is that it's going to be for the 2024 season only. And it'll be whichever one of the major league teams you want to pick, you pick. So I'm a Mets fan, I would pick the Mets, or I could pick the Phillies or the Cubs or the Yankees or anybody. So you can pick your A's, right? You can pick any of the major league clubs, and it's the 2024 season, and the mode will last for the 2024 season, right? So that's the situation in terms of how you'll sort of get started.
And it feels like to me like if there's one thing that I feel sometimes I have to remind myself is when we're streaming is that it takes a certain strength to say, hi, I don't have any idea what you guys are saying. You're using acronyms I don't understand, terminology I don't understand. And Twitch and YouTube are great places for people to gather and raise their game a little bit, learn more. But it can be just like the game. There's so many different layers to the game that if you look at it, it can be overwhelming. You use that word yourself because there's so much to it. And truth be told, there's no wrong way to play the game. You can find any way you want. But it seems to me, and I know you mentioned this, that this is an ideal way perhaps for people to stay within the game, play the game, and then almost sample, find different ways like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's fairly simple. I'm going to make some choices here. Almost, I guess, kind of like a choose your own adventure a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And where
Mm-hmm.
you're creating that path, is that basically in a nutshell what it is?
Yeah, in a nutshell. And again, I haven't played it yet. It's not finished, so I don't want to speak of this as if it is code complete. To use a software development term. But that's exactly the goal. And when we first started talking about it, I had a lot of grand ideas, and I sort of outlined, in a perfect world, to me, like it would just be when you started off, you're like, the first thing you do is boom, okay, you get to pick one free agent that you sign. And then you pick it. And then based upon that free agent, if you're signing, the number one free agent for, $500 million, that impacts your finance a certain way. And then the next thing you do is boom, it's spring training and you have a position battle and you have to pick the winner and stuff like that. And then, and so in my mind, what I was hoping we would do is almost like okay, you want to hit free agency, you want to hit, roster building, you want to hit finances, you want to hit scouting, you want to hit all of these different things, like so that by the end, you've almost touched on every single aspect there is of a game. However, that wasn't completely practical in the world of building this mode, right? So what the development team is doing is what a good development team does is they understand the high level goals and what we're trying to do, but then work within the confines of what the game is and allows you to do and build the best experience from there. So it'll very likely you'll be starting actually at the start of the season. And then over the course of the season, you might, get presented with a trade request here and or a free agency request there. But it won't kind of be like, you're starting off, before the season starts. So it's really going to be much more of a truly in-season roller coaster as opposed to broader, but there will still be a lot of those elements included, key roster decisions, trade offers, things like that will absolutely be part of it. So that's why I want to stress, like, what we're going to deliver with Drive for the Pennant the first time versus the fifth time and the 10th time, there will be some changes and some differences based upon what we can practically accomplish, as well as based on feedback from the community and based on our own thoughts of, well, this is fun. This happens too much. Let's tone it down. This was really cool, but only happened once. Let's make this happen more. Like, with this kind of a thing, there's not just an edict that, okay, here's how you do it and here's how it's done. It's like, what's fun? How do we make it more fun? And how do we get the most people to have the most fun doing it? And then at the end, you're, sort of given the opportunity, all right, let me keep on going in the full blown franchise, right? Like, we're not locking you into playing Drive for the Pennant forever. You play it for a season and then you can sort of move on to the regular game or not, right? All depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, you can continue the tale that was basically told in that first season.
Right.
The National Baseball Hall of Fame partnership, you had mentioned it in the Out of the Park Developments segment that it was, hey, look, the truth will be revealed, but that we're getting a small taste of what it could look like right now. That it's for lack of a better word, as you said, kind of like almost an exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed
Mm-hmm.
like that was it's an extension of Cooperstown as we know it.
Right.
And then the one of the things that makes Out of the Park baseball so appealing is being able to rewrite history.
Right.
Is there going to be any incorporation that you can talk about of the Hall of Fame in that, so that it makes you feel more as you're looking back through history in your own universe, your own timeline, if you will, when you're playing the game, where it will feel more authentic because of this partnership?
Well, the short answer is that, I mean, I hate to say this like this, but the short answer to that question is no. But it's no with a but.
Okay.
And that but is because once you create your own world in Out of the Park baseball, it truly becomes your own world. And we don't want to represent the real National Baseball Hall of Fame as something that it's not. So, again, we had a lot of conversations about this, but, like, the National Baseball Hall of Fame is a real building with real, artifacts and real athletes and real history. And we want to be as true to that as possible, which is why we sort of landed on, instead of trying to incorporate the real Hall of Fame into tens of millions of fantasy baseball experiences, let's let that fantasy continue as it is. And let's take our authentic Hall of Fame materials and put them in a really special place that will be regularly updated and modified and be an interesting place for people to go and see the real authentic stuff from the Baseball Hall of Fame, as well as have some really cool Hall of Fame based stuff in the perfect team mode. Because at the end of the day, authenticity is key, and we don't want to get into the weird world of, well, this isn't the real Hall of Fame, but it's the Hall of Fame. Like, that gets strange and weird, and I don't think anybody has any expectations that their Hall of Fame in the game would somehow be the same as the real Hall of Fame when, Willie Mays actually played for, the Oakland A's, and, Dwight Gooden came up with the Chicago Cubs, and, Mickey Mantle actually never even made it to the majors, right? Like, none of that makes sense. We want to keep the authentic, real Baseball Hall of Fame in a, in the game in a way that doesn't introduce any element of that fantasy that's such a big part of the base game experience.
Um, can I ask you about PT Plus?
Sure.
There's been questions. Are we going to see it? There's been some confusion, I think, by some people where is it going to come back and add the Park 25 or is it not?
No, it's not. Perfect Team Plus was really cool. It was new, obviously, last year, and we think that it did what it was intended to do, which was sort of give players an option on, a different way to sort of experience the perfect team game. In that, there's a lot of people who like to spend money on perfect team. There's a lot of people who like to go free to play. Um, with Perfect Team in terms of not, spending money on the game, and that's all perfectly fine, which is why the game is in the mode is developed like it is. We thought the Perfect Team Plus would be sort of a way for people who might be concerned about their ability to compete, whatever that term compete means. We thought that Perfect Team Plus would be a nice sort of bridge for a lot of people to feel like they could again compete. And to me, compete, like I know myself really well. I love playing Perfect Team, and I know that I'm never going to make it to Perfect League. Like I'm just not good enough, no matter what. Like no matter what cards I get, it's not just about the cards. It's also about your ability to put a roster together and have the right strategies and have the right rotation and all of that kind of stuff. But I still played Perfect Team, and I won 3 Gold League championships, and I'm darn proud of those Gold League championships. So I don't even like to use the word compete, but I just did a bunch of times, right? To me, compete does not mean, well, if I don't win, and here's the cat, if I don't win the Perfect League, I'm not competing. Far from it. And at the end of the day, Perfect Team Plus, a lot of people really liked it. They really liked it. They liked the extra tournament slots. They liked the bonus rewards. What we decided collectively this year was we want to kind of go back to basics. And while a lot of people liked Perfect Team Plus, there was also some feedback from people that they thought Perfect Team Plus wasn't something that they really, agreed with. And we're not saying that they're right or wrong. Nobody's right or wrong with this kind of stuff. It's just, your opinions on things. And at the end of the day, we just said, you know what? Perfect Team Plus was fine for Out of the Park 24, for Perfect Team 24. But for 25, we're just going to sort of go back to basics and not have that sort of separation between a certain type of a player and another type of a player. It's not that we're not happy with Perfect Team Plus, or that it caused us problems or anything like that. It just comes down to we kind of feel like this is the best, right? We did it. It worked fine. Kind of feel like we're gonna do Out of the Park 25 without a Perfect Team Plus as part of it.
And with that, I think you'd mentioned too that one of the reasons why it came out in the first place was to generate interest in PT Plus, or sorry, in Perfect Team.
Yeah.
Can you? I don't know if you have any hard data to back it up or whatever, but how would you say the growth has been over, let's say, the last few years, 3 years, as far as participation in Perfect Team? Because I'm actually surprised when we're streaming the game and I'm playing franchise mode or I'm playing other modes, and people there are people like, I didn't even know you could do that. I just play Perfect Team. I'm getting everything I want out of the game based upon this one aspect of the game. So that tells me, Rich, that there's been a ton of growth with Perfect Team.
Yeah, I mean, Perfect Team has been beneficial to Out of the Park in a lot of ways. One of the biggest unintended ways that it was beneficial is that it serves really nicely as a tutorial of sorts to Out of the Park baseball. The franchise mode is very deep. There's a lot going on. In Perfect Team, you don't have to worry about not any. You don't have to worry about most of the stuff that you could potentially worry about in the base game. So Perfect Team has definitely contributed towards the growth of the game in terms of people. It's sort of like if you look at the number of people that played Out of the Park baseball pre-Perfect Team in like 17 and 18, it's sort of here, and the number of people who play Out of the Park baseball 24 is up here, right? So it's higher now. There's more people playing now than there were 6, 7, 8 years ago. But it hasn't been sort of a straight line. Obviously, in 2020, Out of the Park Baseball 21 came out like 5 days after the massive shutdown started of everything, from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So unintentionally, Out of the Park Baseball got a huge influx of users in March and April of 2020 because there was no sports. There's no fantasy baseball. There's no real baseball. There's no NBA. There's no NHL. There's nothing, right? So there was a bit of a whoa, hey, there's a whole lot more people who are, they literally are sitting in their houses with nothing to do and they love baseball and there's no other way for them. So it's been a bit of a, sort of a not a roller coaster, but, it hasn't been a straight line. It's been a little up and a little down, but overall, there's a lot more people playing out of the park baseball now than there were 5, 6, 7 years ago. And Perfect Team is a big reason for that because, again, number one, it's fun, right? At the end of the day, no matter what, if a game isn't fun, people will find out quickly and they'll stop playing it. So it's fun, and it's a way to learn more about the base game. It's a way to learn more about the history of baseball. It's obviously it's an online competition, so there's the community aspect of it, bragging rights, all of those kind of things. So it's been a real fun experience watching Perfect Team, increase the overall number of people who play out of the park baseball.
Rich, I super appreciate the time because I know that behind the scenes, it is the road to release, which means it's not released yet, which means there's a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes. So just thank you for your time. Thank you for always being available, not only here on this channel, but just to the community as a whole. We appreciate you in every way, shape, or form. Whether you're opening packs, playing the guitar, hanging out, you're Papa Bear in the Out of the Park Developments family. So we just appreciate you so much, man. And you spent much of the Out of the Park Developments Road to Release episode talking about how important the community was to you. I wanted to save some time here to say it's totally right back at you that there are so many people, myself included, who are extremely grateful for your support and your belief in us, the trust that you have in us, and the ability to kind of just let us do something pretty fun. And it's amazing. And it's been my pleasure and honor and my joy to get to know you through these last few years. And I'm really excited about what the future holds.
Well, that's great of you to say, and the feeling is mutual, both to you as an individual and to everyone in the community. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, things happen, but we do our absolute best to deliver the best game possible. And we know, we try our best, and we don't take it for granted. It's a privilege to be able to do this, right? I didn't always get to make baseball video games, but I've always loved and played baseball video games. Back when I first discovered Micro League Baseball on my Apple IIe, and when it changed my life. Like I'm not even exaggerating. And if you had told little kid Rich, who was obsessed with Micro League Baseball, that in the future he would be a small part of contributing to something like Micro League Baseball, but much bigger and more expansive, I would have said two things. Number one, no way, and oh man, couldn't ask for a better way to make a living. So it's awesome to be a part of it. I'm a small part of it, and we're just there's nothing else I'd rather do. It's not easy, because if it were easy, then there'd be 100 out of the park baseballs out there. Only one that I know of, and we don't take it for granted, and we do our absolute best to make the best game that we can.
Well, there's about to be 25 out of the park baseballs. We're quarter of a way to 100.
There you go.
All right, Rich. Thank you.
You got it.